Tick, 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 tock, 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 tick. My zombie's not gonna eat your brains. Don't fear, don't fret, don't back away. Tock, 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 tick. Tick, 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 tock, tick, tick, tick. My zombie's just gonna come out to play. I'm bored, we're trapped, just wanna pass the time away. Tick, tick, tock, tick, 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 tock, 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 tick, tick, tock, tick, 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 tock, tick, 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 tock.
Hello, Msoul. I'm Venus Callida, and for the past hour, I believed I was streaming live, and once again, OBS did not send the feed, and I'm very, very alarmed that this has now happened 3 times. I don't know if other people have had this problem, but I watched myself hit start streaming. I went through I really did a really great reading. I even did it through ASMR Experience. I'm so upset. So if anyone was looking for me, I do not want to be unreliable, but I am definitely having some problems with not knowing when it's shutting itself off so that I can get myself back on before I've done the whole show. Well, so I'm Venus Callida, and if you're new here today, I brought you into one of my corridors, and I have here with me the beautiful Victorian blue wallpapers because got some soft lighting on it because blue is the color that helps people tuck in and chill, and if you focus on the soft blue light, it helps the mind calm. And I've got my blue dragon, my dragon mug, and today it's filled with I've got Perrier water, and unfortunately I've already cracked it open, so you're not going to hear that, but oh, got a bit of a crack. And I'm going to say, I raise my cup to your health and mine, Msoul. So don't forget to hydrate. Let's get you hydrated. Bring your favorite munchies, bring your favorite beverages, make yourself comfy. Let's tuck in and chill. And I'm bringing us back to the OG format where I tell you a story. And today, I've not populated the story like I did in the original episodes of my first year streaming, but what I am doing is bringing you my lava lamp so you can look there, or you can look at me, or you can focus on this beautiful blue spot on the wall by my blue dragon, my ancient Roman Italian furniture, because I'm ancient Rome's answer to anime of ancient Japan. Hello. And tonight is all about telling sleep aid stories to help adults relax, rest, and fall asleep if possible. So feel no worries if you want to close your eyes and just focus from my voice to your ears. That's all it's about this evening. And in doing this, of course, I want to set the scene because in the OG format, I like to have a bit of the ASMR experience going on. I'm basically going to be doing the show twice. I'm reading it for the second time. I really wish that I had seen, and I keep watching the OBS to see if it cuts me off again because I'm so upset that I almost want to cry. But if you're out there, we're going to have to set the stage. So I've got some Palo Santo, and just to explain, Palo Santo is also called the Holy Stick. It's a natural wood aromatic incense used for centuries by the Incas and the indigenous peoples of the Andes as a spiritual remedy for purifying and cleansing to get rid of evil spirits, because we are talking ghost stories, but we do not welcome any evil spirits here. But with Palo Santo, it will cleanse the evil while allowing the good to remain, and all good is welcome here. And I can just verify from personal experience. Once Baby V gave me this gift from South America, I can verify it seemed to work. There are no flying objects crossing the room in the middle of the night, in the middle of the dark when I'm streaming or gaming anymore. Once we started using it where I used to live. And since I moved here to begin with, let's just light this baby up. I love that snap of a lighter. All right, we're gonna smudge a little bit because only the good is welcome here. Well, what I'm going to do in bringing us back to the OG format is I'm going to tell you a mystery, which is also a ghost story. So we get 2 in 1 this evening. And while I read this to you, I want to explain this is a story from the public domain called Joseph. And it's a story written by Katherine Rickford back in 1920, published in a series of ghost stories of 4 volumes in 1922 in Garden City, New York. It's called The Masterpieces of Mystery in 4 volumes, Ghost Stories, edited by Joseph Louis French. In 1922, the original 20s, The Roaring Twenties, Happy Times by Doubleday, Page and Company. And here is a note coming from Joseph Louis French, the editor, who compiled this anthology. And we're going to hear many of these ghost story mysteries over the rest of the summer for Tuckin' and Chill. So get ready, Msoul. Take a deep breath. Make your body cozy in a comfy position. Hydrate if you will. Have your favorite munchies on hand. And let's begin. So Joseph Louis French wanted us to know why he wanted to do this book. Ghost story is as old as human speech, and perhaps even antedates it. A naive acceptance of the supernatural was unquestionably one of the primal attributes of human intelligence. The ghost story may thus quite conceivably be the first form of tale ever invented. It makes its appearance comparatively early in the annals of literature. Who that has read it is likely to forget Pliny's account in a letter to an intimate of an apparition shortly after death to a mutual acquaintance? Old books of tales and legends are full of ghost stories, and I want to verify that later this summer I will read to you from Pliny the Younger's story itself. It's very, very ancient. It has persisted throughout the ages. It began to attain some real standing in literature, the ghost story, to take it its definite place a little more than a century ago, which at this time means the 1800s. Like the apparition it embodies, it had always been, and is still, by the 1920s, more or less discredited. And there's a lady named Mrs. Radcliffe who gave it a new being and even a certain dignity in her Castle of Otranto. And after her came Sir Walter Scott. Hello, Riker, darling. How are you this evening? And Sir Walter Scott surrendered to the power and charm of the theme of ghost stories. I'm going to be reading you a mystery ghost story tonight. And then many other authors followed their footprints, and the ghost story has held its own with its human fellow in fiction. I love that in general they just call ghost like it's a one being and we're all telling the tea about this ghost as its own genre. And his tale's been told with increasing skill as the art of the writer has developed. And in the world of the 1920s, United States of America, the case for the ghost has an element in fiction is exceedingly strong. And it sprung into being with a couple of decades, a new school of ghost writers. Nowadays, that being the 1920s America, every fictionist of account produces at least one good thriller. They all try their hand at it because the temptation is irresistible because of the simple reason that this theme, ghost stories, imposes absolutely no limits on the imagination. We're going to delve into the imagination of one of these writers tonight. And the editor, Joseph Louis French, picked out the ones he thought were the most exotic in his time period over the past 50 years, so the late 1800s to early 1900s. The story we're going to get tonight is coming from 1920, the original Roaring Twenties. All right, and we're going to head on over to it. The story I'm going to read to you tonight is called Joseph. It's a story about a boy by Katherine Rickford. Ooh. It looks like I can't skip, so I'm going to just burn myself down there. Riker, darling, I hope that you have a beverage with you because I'm going to raise my can of Perrier. And I'm going to drink to your health and mind. Chin chin. Have a happy start to your weekend. Here we go. All right. So we've got our Palo Santo curling its wisps of gray and blue smoke into the air all around us as we welcome in the good spirits and channel nothing bad tonight. Here we go. Joseph. Among the towns of Jutland. Ooh, wait. Oh, this is very hot. One more. I did do this earlier today, Riker darling. And unfortunately, OBS shut off my feed and nobody ever heard the wonderful retelling. So let's hope I do it as well the second time around. Joseph, a story by Katherine Rickford. They were sitting round the fire after dinner. Let's start this fire. Here we go. They were sitting round the fire after dinner. Not an ordinary fire. One of those fires that has a little room all to itself with seats at each side of it to hold a couple of people or 3. The big dining room was paneled with oak. At the far end was a handsome dresser that dated back for generations. One's imagination ran riot when one pictured the people who must have laid pewter plates on the long, narrow, solid table. Massive medieval chests stood against the walls. Arms and parts of armor hung against the paneling. But one noticed few of these details, for there was no light in the room save what the fire gave. It was Christmas Eve. Games had been played. The old had vied with the young at snatching raisins from the burning snapdragon. The children had long since gone to bed. It was time their elders followed them, but they lingered round the fire, taking turns at telling stories. Nothing very weird had been told. No one had felt any wish to peep over his shoulder or try to penetrate the darkness of the far end of the room. The omission caused a sensation of something wanting. From each one there was this thought that went out, and so a sudden silence fell upon the party. Hello, Traxer, and good morning to you in Europe side. So, Traxer, OBS shut me off again. I saw myself do the start stream button. I played my intro music, and for an hour I read this story called Joseph, a mystery and a ghost story. I even shouted out to you guys over on the European side in case you were not able to sleep or stuck in a midnight shift. So I hope I can help you feel calm and rest and maybe even fall asleep tonight. I have a lava lamp here, or my blue wallpaper, or me, Venus Callida, if you'd like to watch and listen. So we're now gathered around this fire, and the elders are kind of bored. Nobody really heard a good enough, scary enough story yet. And all the games had been played, and it was Christmas Eve, and back before there was TV, there were ghost stories. To scare the patooties out of people and get them to bed and teach them how to be good people. Everyone fell silent because they were bored and they just didn't want to go to sleep yet. And there was a young girl, who caused a sensation of something wanting. From each one, there this thought went out, and so a sudden silence fell upon the party. It was a girl who broke it, a mere child. She wore her hair up that night for the first time, and that seemed to give her the right to sit up so late with all the elders. Mr. Grady's going to tell a scary story. A ghost story that's really scary. You'll love it. All eyes were turned to a middle-aged man in a deep armchair placed straight in front of the fire. He was short, inclined to be fat, with a bald head and a pointed beard like the beards that sailors wear. It was plain that he was deeply conscious of the sudden turning of so much strained and forceful thought upon himself. He was restless in his chair, as people are in a room that is overheated. He blinked his eyes as he looked round the company. His lips twitched in a nervous manner. One side of him seemed to be endeavoring to restrain another side of him from a feverish desire to speak. It was this room that made me think of him, he said thoughtfully. There was a long silence. And it occurred to no one to prompt him. Everyone seemed to understand that he was going to speak, or rather that something inside him was going to speak. Some force that craved expression and was using him as a medium. The little old man's pink face grew strangely calm. The animation that usually lit it was gone. One would have said that the girl who had startled him already regretted the impulse and now wanted to stop him. She was breathing heavily, and once or twice made as though she would speak to him. But no words came. She must have abandoned the idea, for she fell to studying the company. She examined them carefully, one by one. This one, she told herself, in so-and-so, and that one, there, just another so-and-so, and she stared at them, knowing that she could not turn them to herself with her stare. They were just bodies kept working, so to speak, by some subtle or sort of sentry left behind by the real selves that streamed out in a pent-up thought to that little old man in the chair in front of the fire. His name was Joseph. At least they called him Joseph. He dreamed, you understand. Dreams. He was an extraordinary lad in many ways. His mother, I knew her very well, had 3 children in quick succession, soon after marriage. Then 10 years went by and Joseph was born. Quiet and reserved he always was, a self-contained child whose only friend was his mother. People said things about him, you know how people talk, and some said he was not Clara's child at all, but that she had adopted him. Others, that her husband was not his father. Well, these put her change of manner down to a perpetual struggle to keep her husband comfortable in the dark. Well, I always imagined that the boy was in some way aware of all the gossip, and for I noticed that he took a dislike to the people who spread it the most. The little man rested his elbows on the arms of his chair and let the tips of his fingers meet in front of him. A smile played about his mouth. He seemed to be sending among his reminiscences for the one that would give the clearest portrait of Joseph. Well, anyway, he said at last, the boy was odd. There's no gainsaying the fact. I suppose he was 11 when Clara came down here with her family for Christmas. The Conningtons owned the place then. Mrs. Connington was Clara's sister. It was Christmas Eve as it is now. Many years ago. We had spent a normal Christmas Eve, a little happier perhaps than usual by reason of the family reunion and because of the presence of so many children. We had eaten and drank and laughed and played and gone to bed. I woke in the middle of the night from the sheer restlessness. Clara, knowing my weakness, had given me a fire in my room. I lit a cigarette, played with a book. Yeah. it's boring. Put it down. Well, and then purely from curiosity, I opened the door and looked down the passageway. From my door, I could see the head of the staircase in the distance, the opposite wing of the house, or the passage rather beyond the stairs. It was in darkness. The reason I saw the staircase at all was that the window you passed coming downstairs allowed the moon to throw an uncertain light upon it. A weird light because of the stained glass. And I was arrested by the curious effect of this patch of light in so much darkness, and when suddenly someone came into it, turned, and went downstairs. It was just like a scene in a theater. Something was about to happen that I was going to miss. Oh! I ran as I was, barefooted, to the head of the stairs, and I looked over the banister. I was excited, strung up. Too strung up to feel the fright that I knew must be with me. Oh, I remembered the sensation perfectly. I knew that I was afraid, yet I did not feel fright. On the stairs, nothing moved. The little hall down here was lost in darkness. Looking over the banister, I was facing the stained glass window. You know how the stairs run round 3 sides of the hall? Well, it occurred to me that if I went halfway down and stood under the window, I should be able to keep the top of the stairs in sight and see anything that might happen in the hall. I crept down, very cautiously, and I waited under the window. First of all, I saw the suit of empty armor just outside the door here. You know how a little thing like that, if you stare at it in a poor light, it appears to move? Well, it moved sure enough, and the illusion was enhanced by clouds being blown across the moon. By the fire, like this one, can talk of these things rationally. But in the dead of night, it is a different matter. So I went down a few steps more to make sure of that armor. When suddenly something passed me on the stairs. I did not hear it. I did not see it. I sensed it in no way. I just knew that something had passed me on the way upstairs. Well, I realized that my retreat was cut off, and with that knowledge fear came upon me. I had seen someone come down the stairs. That at any rate was definite. Now I wanted to see him again. Any ghost is bad enough, but a ghost that one can see is better than one can't. I managed to get past the suit of armor. But then I had to feel my way to those double doors here. He indicated the direction of the doors by a curious wave of his hand. He did not look toward them, nor did any of the party. Both men and women were completely absorbed in his story. They seemed to be mesmerized by the earnestness of his manner. Only the little girl was restless. She gave an impression of impatience, with the slowness of which he came to his point. One would have said that she was apart from her fellows, an alien among strangers. Oh, so dense was the darkness that I made sure of finding the first door closed. But it was not. It was wide open, and standing between them, I could feel that the other was open too. I was standing literally in the hall of the house, and as I peered into the room, trying to make out some familiar object, thoughts ran through my mind of people who had been bricked up in walls and left there to die. For a moment, I caught the spirit of the inside of a thick wall. Then suddenly, I felt the sensation I have often read about, but never experienced before. I knew there was someone in the room. Are you surprised? Yes, but wait! I knew more. I knew that someone was conscious of my presence. Oh, It occurred to me that whoever it might want to get out of the door, I made room for him to pass. I waited for him. I made sure of him. Began to feel giddy. And then a man's voice whispered, deep and clear. Is someone there? Who is it? I answered mechanically. George Grady? I'm Joseph. A match was drawn. It was drawn across the matchbook. And I saw a boy bending over a candle, waiting for the wick to catch. For a moment, I thought he must be walking in his sleep, but he turned to me quite naturally and said in his own boyish voice, Lost anything? Huh? Well, I was amazed at the lad's complete calm. I wanted to share my fright with someone. Instead, I had to hide it from this boy. I was conscious of a curious sense of shame. I'd watched him grow, taught him, praised him, scolded him, and yet here he was waiting for an explanation of my presence in the dining room at this odd hour of the night. Oh. Soon he repeated the question. Lost anything? No, I said. And then I stammered. Have you? No, he said with a light laugh. It's that room. I can't sleep in it. Oh, I said. What's the matter with the room? It's the room I was killed in, he said quite simply. Of course. I had heard about his dreams, but had no direct experience of them. When, therefore, he said that he had been killed in his room, I took it for granted that he had been dreaming again. I was at a loss to know quite how to tackle him, whether to treat the whole thing as some absurd imagination, and, well, I laughed it off as such. Yeah, a dream. Or whether to humor him and hear his story out. So, I got him upstairs to my room. I sat him in the big armchair, and I poked the fire into a blaze. You've been dreaming again, I said bluntly. Oh, no, I haven't. Don't you run away with that idea. His whole manner was so grown up that it was quite unthinkable to treat him as the child he really was. In fact, it was a little uncanny, this man in this child's frame. I was killed in there, he said again. Oh. How do you mean killed? I asked him. Well, why killed? Murdered? Of course it was many, many years ago. I can't say when. Still, I remember the room. I suppose it was the room that reminded me of the incident. Incident, I exclaimed. Well, what else? Being killed is only an incident in the existence of anyone. One makes a fuss about it at the time, of course, but really when you come to think of it, tell me about it, I said, and I lit a cigarette. He lit one too. That child. And I began. Well, you know my room is the only modern one in this house? Nobody knows why it's modern. The reason is obvious. Of course, it was made modern after I was killed there. The funny thing is that I should have been put there. I suppose it was done for a purpose because He looked at me so fixedly I knew he would catch me if I lied. What? I asked. If I dream. Yes, I said. That is why you were put there. I thought so, and yet, of all the rooms. But then, of course, no one knew. Anyhow, I did not recognize the room until after I was in bed. I had been asleep some time, and then I woke suddenly. There is an old wheel-back chair there, the only old thing in that room. It is standing facing the fire, as it must have stood in the night I was killed. The fire was burning brightly. The pattern of the back of the chair was thrown in a shadow across the ceiling. You know, like it is right now. Now, the night I was murdered, the conditions were exactly the same. So directly I saw that pattern on the ceiling, I remembered the whole thing. I was not dreaming. Don't think it. I was not. That happened. That night was like this. I was lying in bed counting the parts of the back of that chair and the shadow on the ceiling. Probably could not get to sleep. You know, that sort of thing. Count up to 1,000 and remember in the morning where you got to. Well, I was counting those pieces. 1, 2, 3. Then suddenly they were obliterated. The whole back became a shadow. Someone was sitting in the chair. Now, surely you understand that directly I saw the shadow of that chair on the ceiling tonight. I realized that I had not a moment to lose. At any moment, that same person that might come back to sit in that same chair and escape would be impossible. I slipped from my bed as quickly as I could, and I ran down the stairs. But you were not afraid? I asked. Downstairs? I thought she might follow me? It was a woman, you know. No, I don't think I was. She does not belong downstairs. Anyhow, she didn't. No? I said. No. My voice must have been out of control, for he caught me up at once. You don't mean to say you saw her, he said vehemently. Oh, no. You felt her? Oh, she passed me as I came downstairs, I said. Well, what can I have done to her that she follows me so? He buried his face in his hands, as though searching for an answer to his thought. Suddenly he looked up at me and stared. Where'd I got to? Oh, yeah, the murder. Well, I can remember it all distinctly. You can imagine how startled I was to see that the shadow in the chair. Startled, you know, but not really frightened. I leaned up in bed and I looked at the chair, and sure enough, a woman was sitting in it, a young woman. I watched her with a profound interest till she began to turn her chair. As I felt to look at me. When she did that, I shrank back in bed. I dared not meet her eyes. She might not have had eyes. She might not have had a face. You know that sort of pictures that one sees when one glances back at all one's soul has ever thought? Well, I got back in bed as far as I could, and I peeped over the sheets at the shadow on the ceiling. I was tired, frightened to death. I grew weary of watching. I must have fallen asleep, for suddenly the fire was almost out. The pattern of the chair barely discernible. The shadow had gone. I raised myself with a sense of huge relief. Yes, the chair was empty, but just think of it. The woman was on the floor. Her hands and knees crawling toward the bed. I fell back, stricken with terror. Very soon I felt a gentle pull at the counterpane. I thought I was in a nightmare, but too lazy or too comfortable to try to wake myself from it. I waited in agony of suspense. But nothing seemed to be happening. In fact, I just persuaded myself that the movement of the counterpane, well, I don't know. Maybe it was fancy. A hand brushed softly over my knee. There was no mistaking it. I could feel the long, thin fingers. Now was the time to do something. I tried to rouse myself, but all my efforts were futile. I was stiff from head to toe. Although the hand was lost to me outwardly, it now came within my range of knowledge, if you know what I mean. I knew that it was groping its way along the bed, feeling for some other part of me. At any moment, I could have exactly said where it had got to, when it was hovering just over my chest. Another hand had knocked lightly against my shoulder. I fancied it lost, wandering in search of its fellow. I was lying on my back, staring at the ceiling, when the hands met. The weight of their presence brought a feeling of oppression to my chest. I seemed to be completely cut off from my body. I had no sort of connection with any part of it. Nothing about me would respond to my will to make it move. There was no sound at all anywhere. I fell into a state of indifference, a sort of patient indifference that can wait for an appointed time to come. How long I waited, I cannot say. But when the time came, it found me ready. I was not taken by surprise. There was a great upward rush of pent-up force released. It was like a mighty mass of men who had been lost in a prayer rising to their feet. I can't remember clearly, but I think the woman must have got to my bed. I could not follow her distinctly. My whole attention was concentrated on her hands. All the time, I felt those fingers inching for my throat. At last they moved, slowly at first, then quicker, then a long-drawn swish like the sound of an overbold wave that had broken up too far up the beach and is sweeping back to join the sea. The boy was silent for a moment, and then he stretched out his hand for cigarettes. You remember nothing else? I asked him. No, he said. The next thing I remember clearly is deliberately breaking the nursery window because it was raining. Mother would not let me go out. There was a moment of tension. Then the strain of listening passed to everyone around the circle, around the fire. And they seemed to be speaking at once. The rector was taking the story seriously. Tell me, Grady, he said, how long do you suppose elapsed between the boy's murder and his breaking the nursery window? But a young married woman in the first flush of her happiness broke in between them. She ridiculed the whole idea. Of course the boy was dreaming. She was drawing the majority to her weight of thinking when from the corner where the girl sat a hollow-sounding voice. And the boy? Where is he? The tone of the girl's voice inspired horror, that fear that does not know when it is fears. One could see it on every face in the room, on every face, that is, but the face of the bald-headed little man. There was no horror on his face. He was smiling serenely as he looked the girl straight in the eyes. He's a man now, he said. Alive? She cried. Why not? Said the little old man, rubbing his hands together. She tried to rise, but her frock got caught between the chairs, and it pulled her to her seat again. The man next to her put his hand to steady her, but she dashed it roughly away. She looked round the party for an instant, for all the world like an animal at bay. Then she sprang to her feet and charged blindly. The crowd round her prevented her from falling. At the touch of their hand, she stopped. She was out of breath, as though she had been running. Okay, all right, she said, pushing their hands from her. All right, I'll come quietly. I did it. They caught her as she fell and laid her on the sofa, watching the color fade from her face. The hostess, an old woman with white hair and a kind face, approached the little old man. For once in her life, was roused to anger. I can't think how you could be so stupid, she said. See what you've done? I did it for a purpose, he said. For a purpose? I have always thought that the girl was the culprit. I have to thank you for the opportunity you have given me of making sure. How's that for some sleuthing? That little boy got revenge for his little friend. He played the long game and won. My Palo Alto is only halfway through. It burns bright, Msoul, as I hope you always will too. hope you're rather comfortable. And if you've not already fallen asleep, the OG format for Tuckin' and Chill would be followed by ghost stories I've collected myself. But I have to tell you, ever since I started smudging with Palo Alto, thanks to the gift of Baby V at my old place, and having smudged with this here in my new place on moving day before I unpacked anything, I haven't collected a new one since. But I can tell you, I've been keeping tabs on my favorite ghost hunters. Serena Spooky Boo, Call Me Chris, Sam and Colby. And I do binge watch them from time to time, even still. And I did try to submit an entry inviting Selena Spooky Boo to check out my vehicle since it's been with me through all the years that I collected all of the stories you've heard me speak of in my first year of streaming Tuckin' and Chill. If you'd like to hear them, please feel free to go back and watch any of that original playlist. They're quite interesting and original to me. Unfortunately, I didn't get any callback on offering to ghost hunt my vehicle, but she has, Serena Spookboo has ghost hunted her own. It was the only thing I had to offer because I have to say I've been living quite peacefully here. And I want to shout out to all the WoW gaming friends who put their American other halves on the line to promise anything that if anything ever flew across the room at me in the middle of the night while gaming or streaming again, they would punch them in the nuts for me. When an American says they're going to punch something in the nuts, those somethings listened. And ever since burning the Palo Alto, I have had wonderful sweet dreams from my grandparents, my dear aunt, and my puppers. And nothing bad has happened, and I hope to keep it that way because all the good is welcome. And nothing bad is welcome. And we're going to keep it that way, Msoul. For you too. So I want to give a shout out to all of my friends overseas and on this side of that great big pond with me. Here tonight, I'm Venus Callida, reading you a story. Mystery ghost stories. Gotta love them. And I'm going to be reading different stories from this source material, which is from the public domain, originally published in the 1920s. America. And I kind of like knowing that this story was very recognizable even in today's world. I could see this being made into a mini movie. Now, what can I tell you? If anyone who's listening tonight, Riker, Darling, Traxer, or anyone who's lurking who would like to share with their own ghost stories, their favorite ghost stories, or if you are listening asynchronously, I hope I've helped you to fall asleep. If not, you can keep focusing on me, my brilliant Victorian wallpaper, the soft glowing blues that help soothe people when they need to relax and fall asleep, or my lava lamp. Gotta love a lava lamp. I miss all of my ancient things. Hey, lava's been around since ancient times too. Shout out Mount Vesuvius. Naughty, naughty. Well, if you have a favorite mystery ghost story setting or type, let me know because I'm not going to be reading these stories in the orders that they were collected and edited, but I can skip ahead or skip back through the stories to find one that would be most intriguing for you. Please don't be shy. Let me know in the comments what your favorite settings or characters might be. I can tell you that of the collection that I found that I'm going to be sharing this summer, we do have one about the number 13. We do have one that is based on just journal entries. We have one about a nun, teehee, and we have one from ancient Greece by Pliny the Younger. That's going way back. I always find it fun to visit different cultures and different time periods to know what ghost stories they were telling. Could it all be the same spirit? Is this why the editor simply called it Ghost? We speak of the ghost in all its adventures, and of course Msoul in our one adventure together here on this rock as it hurls through outer space. Thank you for listening. And I hope this is the wonderful start to your weekend and the sweet, sweet dreams that will bring you through all of the adventures your corporeal body cannot take when your eyes are awake. Oh. Now I'm going to save these sources. Ooh, there's even one about a yellow cat. The first person to tell me in the comments what their wishes will be granted first, and if no one chooses, I will of course choose for you. I am a very decisive elf. Now it's time to stretch and time to hydrate, Msoul. If you're still awake, I raise my glass to your health and mine. Chin chin. Here we go, down the hatch. Woo. Now, I can tell you that coming up tomorrow, I will be on live on Twitch side later in the evening. My schedule is posted in YouTube and also on Blue Sky. I really don't do too much on Blue Sky. I'm just posting there because it was a suggestion as a modern site. I'm no longer found on Instagram. I've been blocked because I refuse to give them a video of my face. Is this face not enough? I say. I even love the hair. I love my hair today. Traxer, I don't know if you're still awake out there, if I was able to help you sleep. I know my story voice sometimes helps you fall asleep, which is my goal. I hope you enjoyed the tiny bit of ASMR that happened this evening. I guess the first round was a little better, but OBS was not cooperating with me. I do apologize, but at least this is basically my second streaming of this stream tonight. I was here on time. I just didn't know that the feed had stopped working. That's the third time that's happened this month, Traxer. I don't know if that's happening to you on your feed, but let me know because it's really bugging me out. Well, I'm so... We're at the midnight hour just about. And I can see the tendrils of smoke from our local forest fires carried by the wind. I know they've got it worse further northeast of me. The skies have been brown for the past couple of days. I've had to keep myself busy in other ways. So to perk myself up, you're going to see that I've taken many pictures in my night walks, my walks in the rain, and my day walks under brown cloud, smoke, and debris. Close-ups of textures and colors and plants and trees and leaves and microcosms of the birds and the bees. And I'm going to be turning those into some of the guided meditation videos that I'll be posting as short videos. And every once in a while there will be a meme. I'm going to set my memes and videos now only one per day on the days that I don't stream live online on YouTube. So on my Twitch days, which are Wednesdays and Saturdays this summer, you may find a meme or a short waiting to entertain you. And of course, I will always be loyal to my YouTube side. I'll be here live Sunday night, back on YouTube for Dragonflight Follies to play WoW. And on Tuesday nights, this Tuesday coming up, it's Riddle Me Din Din, Everything V for me, Venus Callida. And I'm going to bring you through a lovely 3-part menu. It's going to be a side, a main, and a dessert. Everything starting with the letter V. And in order to find out these secret recipes, you're going to have to solve my foodie riddles. We've got lots in store, lots of scripts. I just need time to develop them. But I've been very, very busy little bee. And I've been applying for new jobs. I've been working on my content. And I've changed, instead of doing a live video and a meme and a short every day, I'm backing off a little bit to make videos a little better, get some of the ASMR and guided videos back in to help people relax, because that's why I started this channel, to keep you company on a Friday night, to be your white noise, to be your calm and cozy space. And if anyone ever wants to share a joke or a story of their own, come on and meet me again here next week at Tuckin' and Chill. It's supposed to be 10 p.m. And unfortunately, if I find out OBS is giving me more problems, just be sure that I'm going to figure it out. I'll just have to be more mindful to check sooner than an hour in. And I'll get online as soon as I can. All right, everybody. Traxer, Riker Darling, and everyone lurking, thank you for your lurks today. And everyone watching asynchronously, thank you for being part of my channel. And if you're new and you like this episode, please hit like and subscribe. It helps me. I'm very close to monetizing, and I'd really like to be able to do that. Also, if anyone out there knows Salmon Colby, or Selena Spooky Boo, or Call Me Chris, or Charlotte Doubleday, or her husband, who I also follow him now too. They're funny. Mike. Please let them know that you like me and them, because every time I see one of them shouting out for ideas, of course I have no, or am I the void hole? You know what, guys? I should do a Am I a Void Hole channel. I was looking for my own word for this, because we deal with the void, don't we, Traxer? And all the blueberries who are angry these days in midnight. Saying midnight on the midnight hour. Okay, the void hole. And that's what, like, to avoid something, to evacuate. Okay. The M, I know. Am I a void hole? I would like to weigh in on those episodes. And Traxer, I don't know what all the rules are to that, but I know you and I were talking about some collabs for podcast. Why don't we do Am I a Void Hole? And we'll have like a portal that looks like an angry blueberry portal behind us. And then take whatever picture icon we use for them and throw it in at the end of the reading. Well, I know you have other topics in mind, and I'm all for it. And guys, we don't know when we're going to do these, so just keep eyes open, because Traxter and I are still up for more collabs in the future time. Alright. Either I've done my job and you've fallen asleep, or you're at work in the middle of the night on a night shift, or you just headed to work on the day shift, and the earbud's in but you can't type back. And that's okay, because I don't want to get you in trouble. We need to be able to pay our bills to stay connected on Wi-Fi together. It is a magic, I do think, that our souls can interact by the press of a button and the speed of light. Well, Msoul, I'm Venus Callida. So ends tonight's episode of Tuckin' and Chill. May you have sweet dreams, and may you have so many happy adventures. May all your destinies come through as you wish them to, in this world and beyond. I'm Venus Callida. This ends the episode of Tuckin' and Chill, the Mysteries Ghost Stories edition, which will be continuing all summer long. Take care out there, and I'll see you in our next adventure.
Tick, 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 tock, 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 tick. My zombie's not gonna eat your brains. Don't fear, don't fret, don't back away. Tuck, 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 tick. Tick, 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 tock, tick, tick, tick.